We can stay to see the lights fade away into the night. 'Cause you and I live day by day. As time goes by, it's the price we pay. Just close your eyes and we will rise at the speed of sound.
Good afternoon. This will be our 6th episode, and we'll focus on diversity and cultures. Later on, we'll do another interview set, so stay tuned. I'd like to introduce my special guest co-host, because Kelly has softball. Best of luck to her in her match. Ken Chen, who is a prominent figure on our school campus, is best known for what I'd like to call drone flying. You fly drones, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, that's just blowing. And we use his footage, too, on our live broadcast television system and other things. What is your most recent drone project, if you know?
To be honest, I haven't got back to it, but it has been a very interesting journey, I would say.
Okay. So, how was your St. Patrick's Day, if you did anything?
To be honest, I was sick the past weekend, so I didn't do anything.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I know definitely not only our school, but other schools and cities in general, sickness is going around like a bug. So, to all you listeners, be careful. Make sure you use hand sanitizer, and washing your hands is your new best friend. So, back to our primary topic of culture. America has been often stated as a melting pot of cultures, yet how much do we really know about the other cultures? How much of America can be labeled as diverse?
Well, Ben, as you know, America is built on immigration. And besides those of us who stem from Native American roots, now as of July 2018, America is still largely white, around 60%, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, despite recent large waves of immigration. But the minority demographics are still steadily increasing. After a little over 2 centuries, we as a nation have become more inclusive of other ideas and have advanced in great strides in using those same ideas to empower communities to have their voices heard.
We've discussed viewpoints of various topics in previous episodes, such as media, socialization, and relationships. In America, culture is affected by those areas of life, and all those areas of life are affected by culture. So it's one of those give and feed two-way street relationships. People can still share their cultural traditions and perspectives relatively easy thanks to the media. Socialization allows us to communicate effectively, and relationships provide that common bond that we can use to discuss differences. This way, one won't have much trouble learning about other cultures and their histories.
Now, on to the interview.
Alrighty. So, we're back with a group of our freshmen. They will now introduce themselves.
All right, I'm John, and I'm in freshman year, 9th grade.
I'm Jason, and I'm a freshman.
I'm Carly, and I'm a freshman as well.
I'm Abigail, and I'm a freshman. I'm Karina, and I'm a freshman.
So, first off, what cultures do you guys associate yourself with? This can be ethnicity or race, however you want to perceive it. But what cultures do you guys associate yourself with? Anyone can start off.
I associate myself with the Filipino community.
Oh, I associate myself with the Black community and the Fijian community.
I associate with the Filipino community as well.
I associate with the Filipino community as well. And I associate myself with the Indian community.
Alrighty. So, first off, do you think culture is a serious issue in our nation? And now many say the answer is yes, but just to verify from the students' mouths. Do you guys think it's a serious issue?
I guess cultural differences are an issue because some people will judge others for our cultural differences, which is what makes the conflicts between each races.
There are many stereotypes that tend to arise when, like, if you look at a person, a common habit that has been seen is like you stereotype this person based on what they look like, and agreeing with John, I feel like this has caused many cultural differences, or not cultural differences, with different views of people because of this sort of association with a person's a person's like behavior or how they're like with their culture or with their ethnicity.
Do you think that these associations are generally negative or positive, especially when it comes to viewing other cultures? Do you think they're generally positive or open or, like closed? Or any of you guys, what's your guys' thoughts?
I think some people take it as like a way to judge people, like as a negative, like, okay, you're this race, so that means this must be true about you. And I think that's really unfair because everyone's unique and different in their own way.
I think it can be open to anyone because, like, everyone has their right of speech and, like, they can express their cultures in any way they would like.
Now, speaking of a right of speech, now I know we see many examples of cultures being taken to the extremes, such as the KKK, other extreme forms throughout the world, but do you guys think that we have a right to speak about our culture as superior in our beliefs, or no?
I don't think we have the right to basically judge what rank you are based on like other I guess your own status based on races, because it's judging using stereotypes to judge other races. I feel like it can be taken to a point of where it can actually offend that race, which, of course, supports supremacy groups, KKK, and any other races that think they're superior.
And I agree with John because just because of what you believe in your culture doesn't mean that you're above other people. It just means that that's what you believe in, that's who you are.
And speaking of stereotypes, I know John mentioned that, but I have a little fact where it says some stereotypes are descriptive, which Professor Michael Gill, and I'm reading this from thejanegroup.org, 21 Things to Know About Stereotypes, he says, or defines, as perceivers' beliefs about the characteristics of a social group that indicate the attributes, roles, and behaviors that describe a group, e.g., all women are friendly, all men like sports. So do you guys think that cultures are intertwined with some of these other stereotypes? Because I know that we do sometimes associate culture with maybe women's culture or domestic household culture, or maybe the sports culture for men. What's your guys' thoughts on taking culture outside of races?
I would say like people will like automatically assume that like, oh, only because soccer originated in like Mexico or something, that only Mexican people would be good at soccer and like beyond the like VAR or something like that. But that's not true. Like just because the sport didn't originate in the country that you were born from, that doesn't mean that you can't be good at that sport. Anyone can be good at it. It's just that's the history about it.
I feel like people don't take into granted that many other people can do like what other races do, like other than their races. I feel like if they get the time to study that other sport, then I guess that would put aside cultural differences with a person playing sports like soccer.
And I agree with Jason and John because just because 2 or 3 people of one race or culture enjoy something doesn't mean, or do something doesn't mean the rest of the group of people enjoy or do the same thing.
Now, I'm sure on our campus, and I'm sure on all the other high school campuses, that we see the majority races as well as the minority races. And I know that we, as seekers of truth, have to answer these tough questions sometimes that may be controversial. So I'd just like to let all the listeners know that we are looking for truth. We do not wish to take a side on any given stance or another. We just are looking for the truth. So with that being said, what do you guys think is the majority race or races here at Moreau, and what are the minorities?
I think the majority of the race here at Moreau is Filipino, and I think the minority would be like black or white, yeah.
Do you think there are multiple majorities? Maybe, because I'm just saying what I've observed here, that we do have a large concentration of Asian cultures. And do you think that definitely influences like what we expect here, or no, like carrying stereotypes over to our everyday school lives? Do you think that do you guys see anything? Like, there's the typical stereotype that, Asian is associated with good grades or math, or the tiger mom, quote unquote. Do you guys think and I hate to be honest with ourselves here, but do you guys see this here?
Yes.
You do? Alrighty. I'd like to ask in what ways, but I don't want to pry deeper into the matter, but let's focus on solutions as a solution-based ideology. What do you guys see as potential solutions, if you have any, for solving this issue of us carrying over our stereotypes and cultures into majorities or minorities here on campus or just for the world in general?
I guess being able to talk to other races in general, since I guess it'll put your, listening that it'll put your cultural differences aside if you're friends with them. And I guess if the other race is struggling, then I'd suggest helping out, trying to raise them up if they're struggling in any way.
I would just say more people that participate in the culture clubs here at Moreau, because those culture clubs, I think they serve as a part of spreading culture awareness and what it means to be that culture and all the things tied to that. And I know the PCN is really popular because there's a lot of Filipinos here, but if more people would participate in the other culture groups, that would be good, because more awareness about those other cultures.
So for those of our listeners who don't go to the school or have an affiliation with it, what is PCN?
Filipino Culture Night.
Alrighty. Do you know or any of you guys, just to debrief those who aren't part of the school, do you know, can you explain what it is?
Yes, so PCN is a Filipino club where many Filipinos get together and celebrate their culture and what they believe in.
Okay, and so also on that, I think we see that these are people who are taking action. Student activists, now that's a controversial word, but I think that's definitely one way. I know PCN does it. I know Nuestra Gente, our Hispanic culture club, is having their baile. Tickets are still available, by the way. We will be selling them at the door. I hate to drop in this little promo announcement, but we have advertised them on our episodes before. I believe future details can be found in our second to most previous episode, so 2 episodes back. More details on them at the end of the episode. Anyhow, back to the conversation. Do you guys think that we as students have the ability to make change when it comes to cultures and how we need to become more integrated with each other's culture? Do you guys think we can change or make change?
I guess it depends on the person's courage or, willingness to be able to make that change that we need apparent. And I feel as a student can do that. It can change. A student can change a lot, depending on their influence upon a crowd of students or something.
I feel like it's been an ongoing problem, and it's just like so like ingrained inside of our like brains about like what is expected. So I think like one person can only do so much. I think that person just needs to like change others and like just keep going with the chain, and then hopefully more people will work together to stop this problem.
Okay, so as we come to a close, a few more questions. First off, I know before we asked what cultures do you guys associate yourself with. Now, do you guys think that asking that question is sort of like a trigger word? Do you think it makes people uncomfortable? Are we in an era where we don't feel safe to talk about culture?
I guess that depends on the person's own perspective of how they're asking. Because if they're asked to be Filipino, I guess either the person can be proud or sad, depending on how I guess outside influences influence you yourself. Basically, what other people say to us may affect if our perspective on our own race.
I agree with John. I think it's like all about like how like you present yourself and like how much confidence you have in yourself, because if you don't have confidence in like who you are as a person, then I don't think you're going to be comfortable sharing like that kind of information with someone. But I could see how you would be more comfortable if you were Filipino, where there was a majority of that race around you, so it'd be easier because everyone else is that. But if you're something like in the minority but you don't have a lot of confidence, then that would be harder.
Yeah, it really could go both ways, depending on maybe your culture, how you feel about your culture. If you think your culture is maybe the majority or the minority, it really depends on what you believe in.
Now, Jason, I know that you brought up the idea of briefly like the whole, if there's not a majority there, you might feel less secure about it. But the largest question for those of students listening, I think personally, cliques are unavoidable at school or college. Life in general, we will always be cliquish creatures, if you will. That is, we commonly form groups. That way we can feel secure. Do you think in high schools overall that there are cliques based on race and culture?
Yes, I think that's true, because when you're like trying to make friends, it's just so hard. Like if you're going to a new place and you're just trying to find like common things about the person, and like race is like the easiest thing to like see how like common, like find something in common. So if you just go to them, you're just gonna find like something in common with them, because like their race would be the same, I guess.
Okay, so if I'm hearing this correctly, maybe a solution, and if everyone could chime in, that'd be great. Maybe a solution to this issue would simply just be patience. I don't, like, I know the easiest things should be the easiest to do, but let's be honest, having patience is something we all struggle with in our own ways. But do you think patience could be a possible solution, even as something as small as like taking time to get to know someone who maybe doesn't look the same as you?
Yeah, I feel like culture might not be the only thing you have in common with someone else, but like sports or games or there are many other things that you could have in common with someone else, not just your race or your culture that you believe in.
It doesn't matter if you have any, I guess, common personality, as long as you make the other person happy as a friend. I guess that's what's most important in friendship. It's the trust that you build in each other.
I think patience is good, like just to get to know like different people, and like just spreading the word, like getting to know people better that aren't your race are always good, and getting to know different cultures, and just like not just patience, but also like trying to make a change too, just like spreading the word.
Alrighty, so I know that our Moreau Culture Week is coming up shortly. I want to say it's in 2 weeks' time. We'll get back to you with further details on our one of our future episodes. But do you guys think that we as a school will be able to positively take something away from Culture Week? I think we will. I'm confident.
Yeah, I think we will learn more about different cultures, and maybe this is how we could click with new people, not just people with your culture, because you learn more about other people's race and what they believe in.
Yeah, you'll definitely feel more confident learning a thing or two from Culture Week, which does really help with your controversial skills when you're talking with other races.
I think it's like Culture Week. I always think of it's like all the culture clubs in like all one week. It's like you're part of your own club and you get to know all these different cultures. And I think that's a great learning opportunity for people here at Moreau.
And so, you've heard it from the students themselves. I'd like to thank all my students who were here with us today to help us with this student podcast. As you can see, we just had an assessment of various cultures and the representatives, quote unquote, because let's be honest, if there's one thing everyone can see, it's skin color. And as a result, we're all representatives who we are. And so, I can't remember the last time that I've seen a conversation with African American, white, Indian, Filipino, Chinese, all sit down together and have a group discussion. Now, I know that I may be extrapolating the subject, but quite frankly, I think that the world leaders can take something from this generation. Hopefully, we'll be able to steer the world in a greater path. So once again, I'd like to thank our guests today. Well, that interview was interesting. It never hurts to have more insight into another perspective. By the way, Fiona, what's your opinion on the discussion?
I just think that's great that we had this discussion. I mean, it's so easy nowadays just to remain silent and afraid that what we're going to say is wrong. But that's not helping the problem. It's just burying it deep inside. So tell me, Ben, what do you believe is the main lesson for people to take away from this episode?
For me personally, I think that culture is a serious topic in the world today, and without discussing it, we're left to shelter ourselves in what we see as similar and not willing to explore what's different. And I definitely think that we need to have more open discussions like this, and I hope that those of you students listening, those of you adults listening, be it whoever you may be, sit down with someone who you think is different than you. Have a discussion, because by God, you will learn a comparison. And that similarity that you learn can unite you with another person, and by extension, another group. So with that in mind, thank you all for tuning in this week. Tune back in next week, and we'll see you on the flip side.